All right, hello and good morning, everyone. I will be perfectly honest in terms of why I am here. As you know, it is still 10 minutes until the parade steps off, and I have come in here a little bit early. So if you're rocking with me, I do appreciate you for that. And I tuned in a little bit early for two reasons. The first is that maxim that if you're early, you're on time, and if you're on time, you're late. But also, to be quite frank, I'm operating in a new format that I'm still figuring out. So hopefully, I can be ready when the parade steps off. So, if you are here rocking with me, happy eighth day of Christmas, happy last night of Hanukkah, seventh day of Kwanzaa, Imani, and of course, for our purposes, happy New Year. Looks, at least from where I am going, I don't know if it is coming through better for you than it is for me, but we will give it a try and see what. So, just to give you an idea of where I am going to be coming from, or specifically what my viewing experience is going to be, I am planning to watch the KTLA feed. KTLA is the station in LA that airs the Rose Parade. So it's sort of the prime rock. Right now, I am camped on their feed, and hopefully, once they show up, um, we will roll. But I also wanted to share with you all that that is the feed that I'm going from. So if you're watching something a little bit different, then um, you'll hear, you may be in different, maybe seeing it differently than I am. Sorry, I just interrupted myself because I pulled. So right now, the one that is in the room is probably me. But um, regardless, I pulled that up for that reason, and then all of a sudden, I could hear myself. So that's why you got a little bit of confusion from me there for the moment. But I hope that everybody's new year is getting off to an amazing start. Um, I know, unfortunately, I will bring it up. I know that the news stations are talking about it, but unfortunately, there was a heinous act of violence down in New Orleans that left 10 dead and I think about 3 dozen injured during the New Year's Eve celebration down in the French Quarter. So, my condolences, my thoughts, my prayers with the lives lost, the families affected by that particular tragedy. Um, it's 2025, humanity. We still can't get right, but we're going to keep trying every day. Not sure why I am visually so jumpy. So if I do this in the future, I'll probably have to do something where I hardwire a little bit better. But um, we're going to rock with it best we can. And actually, now that I've got the additional played with my controls a little bit more, I think I'm going to see the live comments directly in my stream here. So if that is working in the fashion that I think it is, then there's no need to stream. So I might keep that open for just another moment, but I will close it out if need be, especially if I give myself a little bit more bandwidth. Thankfully, I think audio I'm coming through fine, but I think video I'm a little bit jumpy. So if that's what y'all are seeing, my apologies. But hopefully, you're not looking at me anyway. You're watching a parade. So I hope that this is the experience that you all want out of it. So at this moment here in the eastern US, it is 10:55, which means that the parade will be stepping off in Pasadena in about 5 minutes. I mentioned a little bit earlier, I am going to be watching the KTLA feed, the station out of Los Angeles that televises the parade. And so if you're on another feed, perhaps you're watching the ESPN ABC feed, you might love the float. So you're watching the HGTV, whichever one you might be hopping on. If we are not directly in sync with one another, hopefully we're not too far off. So whatever it is I'm talking about, you either have just seen or will be seeing in the very short time. But again, I am camped on that KTLA feed. It should hopefully pop up for me as soon as it goes live if I am doing this right. So we will see in about 3 minutes because they're scheduled to go live at 10:59. Glorious holiday season. As I said at the outset, it is the eighth day of Christmas, the last night of Hanukkah. It is Imani, the seventh day of Kwanzaa. And of course, for the purposes that we are together here, it is New Year's Day. So happy New Year to you all. We are nearly 11 hours into the new year here in the eastern United States, a little bit less in other parts of the USA, little bit more in most of the rest of the world. So hopefully your 2025 is getting off to an excellent start. Part of what prompted me to do this sort of a broadcast in the first place is there's a number of reasons, but my biggest inspiration came from a pair of Ninja Warrior competitors. So you may be familiar with American Ninja Warrior. Ryan Stratus and Booty Cochran were both announcers on a ninja competition that my daughter was doing last year. And I was really enamored with the way, certainly they brought expertise into their commentary, but also the fact that they were able to address with such care and such aplomb the fact that these were young athletes that were competing. And we know in the world of sports, there's a lot of times where commentary can get a little bit chippy, even if it's, college level and certainly professional. And so the fact that they were able to speak with something with both such expertise and such care made me think, is there anything about which I have kind of that knowledge base and expertise? And naturally for me, it is bands. And for that matter, so we are watching the Rose Parade. It's got a lot going on, but my area of expertise is the bands. And so that's what you can expect to hear the most from me. I am going to try to do my best to shut up so that you can hear them in all their glory, but I also will be sharing a little bit of their story as well. Don't expect top-notch float commentary out of me, and in fact, I might talk over the floats a little bit, but if I've got it, I will certainly provide it. But again, we should be going live on the KTLA feed right about now. So I am, oh, well, we've got an ad coming up. So let's see if we are ready to go. All right, I think this feed is ready to go, which means the parade will be underway in just a moment. So again, for those of you who are here, I appreciate you rocking with me. There you have it, live from beautiful Pasadena, California. The best day ever. Now, this will be the first time I mention this, probably won't be the last, but in addition to the inspiration that I just mentioned from Ryan Stratus and Booty Cochran, I also um, I marched in the Rose Parade 26 years ago today with the Alexis I. DuPont High School Tiger Marching Band out of Delaware. And so that is what keeps me coming back to this parade year after year. And while they do the introduction here, I will also shout out and commemorate the shirt that I am wearing right now. We have one and only one ambition to be the best. What else is there? Sign that hung around above the band room door and the Alexis I. DuPont High School Tiger Marching Band, and a maxim that became associated with Mr. Paul Peretz, my high school band director, who we lost earlier this year. He took the Tiger Marching Band to the Rose Parade, an unprecedented 5 times for any director and same band for any school outside of the state of California. So, doing this for a lot of reasons, but one of those, I'm doing it for Mr. Peretz. And the broadcast is now underway with a live performance. Made their debut in one of the Super Bowl halftime shows, but you're seeing those sort of pogo stick stilts that some of the dancers in this original performance had. It's been a little bit of a while since I've seen any of those, but again, I believe that they made their debut in a Super Bowl halftime. Feed, we've got Aloe Black on the screen now. Hopping on. Hello, welcome. Good to see you. Happy New Year. Um, I mentioned at the outset that my area of expertise is going to be bands, so you're going to hear the most out of me as it relates to them. Peace to Aloe Black. He's on the screen right now. He's performing. I will let y'all rock with him. I don't know particularly much about this performance, but I will shut up and let y'all watch it. All right, so wake me up indeed. So there you go, the first unit of the Rose Parade, followed immediately by the United States Air Force and the B 2 bomber flyover, the Spirit stealth bomber. Um, and you'll note that they are just one of the branches of the military that will be present during today's parade. So um, that is your first, the impressive sight of the B 2 stealth bomber flyover. The irony, of course, of us marveling at seeing a stealth bomber, because, of course, they're not particularly stealthy mode for the flyover, but that I suppose is the purpose. And again, I am watching the KTLA feed. So if you are watching the ESPN ABC feed or HGTV or a number of other feeds, we may be slightly out of sync, but regardless, we should hopefully be seeing at least some semblance of the same units passing, and I will be giving you that update as they come. They haven't yet spoken about what the temperature is in LA right now, but based on their mode of dress, it's about 8 a.m. in Los Angeles right now. And while LA does tend to be a warmer city, it is still January 1st. So, um, but interestingly enough, the Rose Parade came into being to showcase the warm weather out west when most of the East was freezing. So they're showcasing that, but again, judging from their mode of dress, it's probably decent, but not exactly warm out in Los Angeles this New Year's morning. Now, of course, you've got the grandstands that are set up for the Rose Parade, and I am told that over the course of that 5.5 miles, you are essentially performing before a million people. It's one of the very few venues in the world where you are doing that in person. Of course, there are millions more who will watch on TV as I am, but those who are live along that entire parade route on Colorado Boulevard, uh, there are potentially a million folks out there. I don't know if that number has changed any, over the past few years, but um, certainly it draws a huge crowd each and every year. The lead float that you see here is from Honda. Honda is the title sponsor of the Rose Parade. And for the band heads among us, you will also recognize Honda is the title sponsor of the Honda Battle of the Bands. Now, interestingly enough, this year's Honda won the Honda Battle. So, Honda is a West Coast affair this year. Um, but it's just fascinating to see the degree to which Honda interacts with the marching arts in a couple of perhaps the highest profile ways through the Honda Battle of the Bands as well as the Rose Parade. The Marine Corps Mounted Color Guard is with us now. Um, They often lead the parade as the first, one of the first units. Again, we mentioned the flyover, and of course, we had the Honda float, but they are followed immediately by the Marine Corps Mounted Color Guard. They are bearing the colors of the United States, of course, and the United States Marine Corps.
And they always have met with such reverence from the crowd. A lot of the Marines in this color guard in the program, they don't have a lot of equestrian
Now,
experience,
immediately
but
behind them, Marine Corps West Coast Composite Band, based out of San Diego and Camp Pendleton, California, under the director of Master Gunnery Sergeant Wesley Hayes. Let's go ahead and give them a listen for a moment. They are, of course, playing the Marine Corps hymn. Now, they have made more than 21 consecutive appearances in the Rose Parade, but they first appeared back in 1949. Um, of course, the Marines in that parade may very well have been fresh out of World War II. This unit brings together three different Marines from the 1st Marine Division Band, the 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing Band, and the Marine Band San Diego.
I love this one. This is back
And as you know, every Marine is a rifleman. So while each of these Marines is proficient with the instrument they're playing, they're also proficient with other instruments as well.
especially now. It takes the Bob Hope Humor Trophy for the most whimsical and amusing float. So let me tell you a little bit about it. That frog up front, a whole lot of green going on right there. Tea leaf, live halves, green button mums, and Brussels sprouts. You see them there. The gray squirrel's body is made of Ming moss and white chipped coconut, and his tan buddy is made of uva and pampas grasses.
It is always fascinating to me to hear the various organic material that coats these floats. If you're not familiar, one of uh, the traditions in the Rose Parade is that the outside of each of the floats need to be coated in some sort of organic material. And so uh, many watch the feed on HGTV, which breaks down specifically the different sorts of flours and grains and all sorts of things that they are using to cover these floats. They give you a little taste of it on some of the other broadcasts as well. One of the things I always love is when the screen is on a float or something else, and you can already hear down the road the next band that you can expect. So I know the Fresno State Bulldog Marching Band is not too far behind, and you can already hear them. Now, the Bulldog Marching Band has racked up the miles this postseason. Here they are in Southern California, but they already accompanied their football team to the famous Idaho Potato Bowl up on the blue turf of their conference foe, Boise State. Go ahead and give them a listen for just a moment now.
Looking good, the Bulldog Marching Band is the largest and most diverse student organization at Fresno State. It's got members coming from every major on campus, and they perform everywhere at the state home football games, as well as events all around the country.
Now, the Bulldogs are prepared for the Southern California sun. You'll see that they are clad in sunglasses. But in addition to that, their uniforms are from Stanberry. They dropped prior to the 2019 season. And perhaps one of the most striking elements that they incorporate is the checkerboard from the end zones at Fresno State.
They worked so hard to get here, and I
So
love that they
Fresno's
have
is
a lot of
proud of their heritage in the Central Valley of California. They traveled about 3.5 miles to come down here to compete, and they are looking great. The KTLA broadcast just reminded me that they too have a band cam. So maybe I'll run it back and see that feed at some points out of the day. We've got a few more units till we get to our next band. And again, hopefully, we will get that treat of hearing them down the road before they come into view for us.
after a kinetic wind sculpture. Now they did skip on the florals for this one. My gosh, they've got 50,000 flowers to create this one. And congrats on your award.
Yes,
Thanks to the scouts for always carrying the banners proudly as they do when they
yes.
announce the winners.
That's a long way to carry. Oh, look who just came around the corner.
I love her so much.
That's our grand
And our Grand Marshal, Billie Jean King, just pulled into view on the KTLA feed. I know these are picked a year or more in advance, but it is particularly fitting to have Billie Jean King grand marshaling the parade in 2025 after 2024 was such a banner year for women's sports. And so to have her leading the Rose Parade is fitting because I don't think that is a momentum that will show down or slow down any.
Off she goes, and here comes another award winner. Sweepstakes trophy, most beautiful entry encompassing float design, floral presentation, and entertainment. Back for their fourth consecutive parade, always a crowd favorite, the San Diego Zoo and Wildlife Alliance, presenting Friendship Across the Earth as a tribute to the wildlife that bonds us from around the world. Each a rendition of an actual San Diego Zoo resident. We have red pandas there. There's Lucas. They look like ringtail lemurs to me in some regard, and Adira. They are atop the waterfalls, and then in the middle, all the Chinese pandas. We're panda people.
This said that he mentioned that Lucas and Adira, I believe, where their names look like ring-tailed lemurs. I'm pretty sure they are red pandas, but what do I know?
He's wagging his tail to the lane tiger, surveying the rear. He's a marigold straw flower, peach lentils, and pumice grass with stripes of black seaweed and onion seeds.
So beautiful. And this is the group that started it all for us, the originators of the very first
The Valley Hunt Club. Now, this was the unit, or this was the club, the social club that began the Rose Parade back in the 1890s.
So that was a great display of local pride, and look what happened. Now we've got this modern day parade.
And as I mentioned earlier, they really did it to showcase Southern California. The Rose Parade predates the Rose Bowl game. That showcase, and in fact was an East-West showcase. That East-West in most years came to be represented by the Big Ten and the Pacific Conference, whether it be the Pac 8, Pac 10, Pac 12, and its various iterations throughout the years. So it always showcased those two conferences, which adds an interesting wrinkle for this year that I'm sure on supporting the teams come into view.
Dotted kernels of corn very closely. They're elaborate memorial floral portraits, or floral grass, as we call them, of the donors. And that stunning foliage is in pink, Hawaiian, and white dendrobium, and below phalaenopsis over a lagoon of iris, roses, hydrangeas, and dendrons.
Nice job on the flowers, Mark.
Yeah, I don't think so.
All right, make some noise now for the band representing the second
All
largest
right.
school district in the nation. This is
And stepping into view now, we've got the Los Angeles Unified School District All District High School Honor Band from Los Angeles, California. Pause for a minute to give them a listen. Watch that drum major work. And keep in mind, they are putting in this work over 5.5 miles.
It's a big band with a big sound. They're 365 members strong. This is a composite band. It's designed to give students with music programs that are too small to qualify for our parade a chance to march with us here on New Year's Day.
Now, there are about 365 students in this band. They represent more than 75 high schools throughout the Los Angeles Unified School District, which is the second largest in the nation. They were established back in 1973. And this is a band that has been a breeding ground in the best of ways for a number of music educators who participated in this band and ultimately determined that that was their calling, something that they wanted to do with their life.
Proud moment for a lot of families that have waited for this.
Absolutely. And we talked about what this does for those who are marching. Gives them purpose in life, gives them a direction to go. Because without music for some students, there's really not much happening.
Well, they say music is life, and this is community, and that's the best you can hope for when you see these smiles.
Both of my sons are big into music, and I know how it fulfills them. They just absolutely.
Now, if you know me, you know that I am keeping an eye on the drum line generally, but the cymbals specifically, as I marched a number of years on cymbals myself and continue to have a soft spot for the instrument. And these cymbals got it. You will see cymbal lines who are, who do not put the effort into their craft. And it is very clear that these cymbals here understand the dual role that they play, both as musical and visual elements. But the sousaphones back there were getting it as well. So great to see, again, more than 75 different high schools, the Los Angeles Unified School District All District High School Honor Band.
It's one of 6 self-built floats in today's parade, meaning it is all volunteers. They raise the money, they design it, they build it, they decorate it, they float, they put the float together all themselves. And having a best pre-tailed of the day ever are a dozen baby dinosaurs frolicking in the floral landscape with 2 beautiful waterfalls. And they're seemingly, whoa.
The crowd just got excited. So the float that is passing now has an active volcano that just sparked off. So the crowd got a kick out of that.
Made a fishy friend. There he is. He's got a new fishy friend, while Pterosaurus and Stegosaurus seem to defend the seesaw. They're going to go back and forth. Why don't you so playful? Look at him back.
Now coming next, we've got the Banda de Música Alberto Lopez, Colegio Jose Daniel Crespo. They are representing Chitre in the province of Herrera in Panama. Now that name has 2 parts. So Professor Alberto Lopez was the first musical director of this band, and it now bears his name along with the school that they represent, Colegio Jose Daniel Crespo. Let's give them a listen now.
And almost all of them, this is their first trip to the United States, which I just say welcome. We're so glad you're here, and congratulations on this beautiful accomplishment to showcase your Republic of Panama.
Now, this unit has been in the Rose Parade twice before, in 2014 and 2018.
I love the sense of culture.
But most of the members who are marching today, they are they are 12 to 19 years old, and many of them, most of them, are making their first trip to the United States here.
To share that moment with them.
Yeah, and for them to come here and allow us to dip our toes into their culture and see what their lives are about and what the history is, like this.
The crowd is loving them.
Now, they are marching French horns instead of mellophones, which a number of units do, not the least of which being the Marine Band that we saw earlier. But of course, that is, we know stylistically, there are, many bands do march mellophones.
When they come around that corner, I can't help but think that they're looking at more people that probably is in their hometown.
And they are putting on for the nation. You see the Panama flag adorning the right shoulder of each of their uniforms.
It is for us. It's just magnificent.
And you have to know too, the corner is more than a corner. It's more than 90 degrees. It's 105 actually. And that may seem like a little thing, but when you see that and you see that group as spread out as they are, they need to prove by show a video that they have practiced that and can make that because it is difficult. It is
Now,
not
to
easy to be
place
outside.
their hometown in Panama. Now, a lot of times when we think of Latin America, we think of it in
All that has to go.
north south orientation. Panama is actually oriented a little more east and west. And so the northern coast of Panama sits along the Atlantic, while the southern coast sits along the Pacific. And Chitre is right along that southern coast on the Pacific Ocean.
Yes, the bravery.
If anything goes wrong with an instrument, somebody's going to step in and help them out. Same with vets standing by for our horses.
Exactly. Or any yes.
So I think if you have a bad hair day, someone will come in and help you right away.
That yeah, oh yeah.
Happy New Year, everybody. I hope you're enjoying this day with your family, friends, and whatever makes you feel about 2025 coming up so fast. And here we are with a bright, shiny new day for the new year.
Yes. The one off we go to our next.
The Golden State Trophy. This is the most outstanding depiction of life in
I'm
California.
chuckling because I look down and there is a friend of mine who I see has just gone live on Instagram, and I know who it is and I know exactly why, and I will let y'all know when when the next unit comes up.
Of iris of pearls, dendrobium orchids, and delphiniums. And performing aboard the fiesta, those are members of the Mariachi Tres de Ceviche, a Grammy Award winning all female mariachi band, alongside dancers from the ballet, folklorico,
And out of the
and
corner of my eye,
conjuntos.
so again, I'm watching the KTLA
Yeah,
feed.
it's not
The
so much
ABC feed is
the
on
song
in the
because
living room,
we are just
and I can see the next unit is already on that sleeves
all
on that screen. So I'm just going to go ahead and start talking
Today is all
about the sonic boom of the South from Jackson State University. Um,
there's just a
I mentioned I saw somebody go live, and that is my friend Joe Beard of the Marching Podcast. He's a long time friend of the program, of myself, of 80 Minutes of Regulation. And he marched with the Sonic Boom of the South, but he also now lives in California. So I know he is in his element, and he is there live right now as his band takes to Colorado Boulevard.
amazing Grand Marshal Billy Jean King. There he
So on
is.
the KTLA feed,
Rose
we
in
are
that photo.
seeing
You got that one, Jesse.
the president of the tournament of Roses
That's our marshal.
Pass.
Jill, Laney, and Jesse. He's no doubt enjoying really one of the best days ever after years of planning. He's
and
going to
he's been volunteering for decades
he
to get
has.
to be the president,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes, 30 years he's been doing this. Um, and today is the culmination. And I think tomorrow is a day of
But the
celebration.
I think
sonic
maybe you'll see
boom
that.
of the South, up front, they are led by the Jackson 5, J5, their drum majors. And of course, the Prancing J set, they're often imitated dancers.
And it
The
shows.
song the year back in 2023. That is part of the Celebration Bowl.
We're going to
So
go
that
down to
took place
Chris,
in
who's
Atlanta.
hanging out on the corner today. Chris, you there? I am right here, Mark and Lisa. This is one of those fun, unexpected moments, but I can explain if you're familiar with an HBCU and what they bring to the band culture. That's what's happening right now. You're gonna have
And the
to
KTLA feed has just kicked it down to their man on the street, but it looks like, oh, we're,
they just stop. And boy, did they
oh
get
yes,
down.
we are
HBCUs
from
do,
the
baby.
Sonic
We do
Boom of
our
the
thing.
South.
We do our
Oh, I
thing.
love it.
So they are getting down. Was it planned? No. Is it fun? And is the audience eating it up? Absolutely. So that's what you're seeing right now. It's not an intentional delay. It's an impromptu moment in front of the biggest of the grandstands, and Jackson.
We're going to listen in thanks to our friends in Covered California. Lower the boom.
So, as I mentioned, friend of the program, Joe Beard from the Marching Podcast. Go ahead and give them a follow on social media. But he is a Jackson State alum. He is right there living in California at this parade, fully in his element.
They are so loved. They played at the Super Bowl with Usher and Alicia Keys. They're playing for you today on this beautiful New Year's Day. The Sonic Boom has made it to Pasadena in style.
Spirit. And like Chris said, this is it is.
They're known for this. They're known for that kind of spontaneous shuffle, for having kind of a non not regimented performance, and yet there's beautiful orchestration.
I'm, I'm sorry. I'm again watching the KTLA feed, and so much misconception that is sometimes heaped upon traditional style bands, show style bands, HBCU bands. She just used the term unregimented, and I will assure you that they are heavily, heavily regimented in this performance. But unlike some of the other squads, we did just get to see Jackson State take that 105-degree turn on to Colorado Boulevard, and they are taking it like a champ, as we knew that they would. They're harping on the fact that they did their stop and what they called an impromptu performance. I assure you it was fully planned because uh, they're not here to please judges. They're here to please the crowd. They're here to thrill an audience for those who march in a traditional or show style. You know that that is the name of the game. It's also a fascinating juxtaposition that Jackson State should be followed by the Mississippi float, which is, and, you know, they're showcasing Elvis, but also a very much 50s aesthetic. And um, I mean, I don't need to tell you the history of segregation, education in Mississippi. And so, uh, juxtaposing this particular performance with an HBCU marching band is an interesting, if not accurate, showcase of the state from which they hail. I have been facing the screen. I've perhaps turned away from the microphone a little bit. So I hope
How about Visit Mississippi and that amazing tribute to two legends, you could call them icons. Of course, Elvis Presley and B.B. King. Visit Mississippi doing it right. That was high energy. Chris on the corner, loving it.
I don't think he's got his socks on. There's no socks on right now. They're completely blown off.
Nobody has any socks on. Hey, these folks are from Shadow Hills, California.
coming into view now, we've got the new Buffalo Soldiers. They're based in Shadow Hills, California, and of course are a tribute to the legendary Buffalo Soldiers.
Which helped settle the American West. I mean, they battled rustlers and thieves. They protected the settlers. They guarded railroads, stagecoaches, and wagon trains. And then alongside the horsemen, you see a group representing the 25th Infantry Bicycle Corps. They're known as the Buffalo Soldiers Iron Riders. Here they are. The Iron Riders are celebrating the 125th anniversary of an experimental expedition. They were testing the feasibility of using bicycles instead of horses for military transportation. And
Having a canteen breakdown.
Yeah, sometimes the lights didn't work so well.
Yeah.
Thanks, Buffalo Soldiers.
All right, winner of Most Outstanding Innovation in the Use of Floral and Non-Floral Materials, Past President Trophy Award. You just saw the great performance by Brandon Bennett and Chapel Hart aboard the first-year float, the Visit Mississippi, the birthplace of America's music, featuring a pair of Mississippi-born legends.
So while we just had the Mississippi unit, both in terms of Jackson State and the featured performance, we've now got the Visit Mississippi float.
There's historic Highway 61 and the mythic crossroads where guitarist Robert Johnson, as legend has it, sold his soul to play the blues. You see B.B. King's hair? Get this. Listen to this. It's made of coarse brown heifer, which the folks have artistic imitation.
Now, as you may know, the state of Mississippi adopted a new flag in the not too distant past, within the past 5 years. They finally got rid of the old flag that still incorporated the Confederate battle flag in its canton. And as they were looking at the various options before landing on the current flag, there were a few that incorporated what is sort of is Mississippi's word mark. You'll see it on the float there, but the crooked letters, as they call them, all of those dropped S's that create a nice stylized look for the word of Mississippi, but ultimately it was not selected to be on the flag, which I think is the right decision.
But every inch, so that can be bark, it can be grasses, it can be dead or alive, but it has to be botanical material.
Oh, we've got a loose also.
This is the winner for us of our next float coming around the corner here, the Crown's Innovator Trophy for Most Outstanding Use of Imagination, Innovation, and Technology. It's kind of a tale in 3 parts. Congratulations to La Cañada Flip Ridge Tournament of Roses Association. They're calling their float Rover Rendezvous. It's an all-electric flying saucer leading the way and a drone overhead. Rover Rendezvous celebrates the innovations of La Cañada-based Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Whimsical portrayal of planetary exploration and joyriding.
Not gonna lie, one of the alien life forms on La Cañada's float, I thought it's kind of showing us alien booty, but you know, we listen, we don't judge.
Is the propane-powered drive chassis, if you will. They have a goal by next year to be 100% EV.
But coming into view next, United States Army Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps. We'll pause for a moment to listen to that big stanky drum and fife.
This is the only unit of its kind. It's largely ceremonial. It's the 3rd U.S. Infantry Regiment. And you might be wondering why they're wearing red when it was the British who were famously called the Red Coats, right?
Yeah.
Well, military musicians of the period, apparently they wore the reverse colors of the regiments to which they were assigned. And because General George Washington's regiments wore blue coats, the Fife and Drum Corps wears red.
That does
Okay.
not seem intuitive.
Right.
Now, in addition to the fifes here, you are seeing they've got, I believe, piccolo trumpets that are featured there. But the Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps, they harken back to the days of the American Revolution. Um, Here in Guilford County, North Carolina, you may be familiar with the Guilford Courthouse Fife and Drums, which is a similar unit. Um, they are wearing red, and I know that a lot of folks will immediately associate the red coats with the British during the American Revolution. But the musical units did wear uniforms that contrasted their primary unit, and so you will see military musicians from the Continentals that are red, despite it being a color typically associated with the British during the American Revolution.
And watch our audience show respect and pride for the U.S. Army.
Everyone in the bleachers are all standing, and this happens every year when something like this.
Yeah. They're highlighting the most important asset in the Army, and that is its people. Your dad, my dad, both served. We know how important that identification is.
See,
Love you, Daddy. Rest in
this is
peace.
what my dad too served in the Navy.
So the U.S. Army unit there is celebrating 250 years of service, and it's worth noting as we as a nation into the timeline of the, in 2026 will be 250 years since 1776, but our military units, including our Army, Navy, and Marines, which were founded in 1775 prior to the American Revolution, they all turned 250 this year. Um, and you will see like 4 of our branches of service on display during this parade. Again, we saw the flyover from the Air Force, a B 2 that led off the parade. We have already seen the Army Old Guard as well as the Marine Corps West Coast Composite Band. So all of those brands, and we'll see the Navy a little bit later.
Cranberry, you see gazing out the window. And enjoying a snooze right there in that easy chair. Brown coconut and orange lentil. That's a version of Lua, who was in our parade last year, but did. So we're hoping the same for all the pets that are riding this year.
They're the winners of the team trophy, by the way. All right. Making their 43rd Rose Parade appearance, here is Milwaukee's International B together. I think I said that correctly, right? The wings and being together makes for the best day ever. Honeycombs paved the way on this float, no flax seed with incense of both carnations, a bit of carpet of sculpted flowers, with petals of orange, yellow, white, pink, and peach straw flower. And Mr. and Mrs. B have faces made of white carnation petals with tongues of hot pink statues. Their bodies are ground oats and coffee and tennis shoes. You see those? Those tennis shoes? His are cranberry seeds, coffee and rice, and hers in shades of pink straw flower. That sweeping orange branch at the rear is made of green tea leaves with dangling oranges of brown and whole lentils and a beehive of yellow.
And you can already start to hear the next marching unit coming around, and there they are. The Kyoto Tachibana High School Green Band from Kyoto, Japan. They're under the direction of Yutaka Kaneshiro. Now, Japan's green band tradition was on display last year as the Toho marching band appeared in this parade. But this green band is nicknamed the Orange Devils. As you can see, they are clad in orange, and they are one of Japan's oldest female marching bands.
You can see their love of music, their love of movement.
Yes. That's Benny Goodman's classic swing tune, Sing, Sing, Sing. Kyoto Tachibana, rather. Is their lively dance style.
Now, they are no stranger to the big stage. They have collabed with Kalen Anzai, a J-pop star. They appeared on the soundtrack for the animated movie Belle. Their motto is full of energy, smiles, and dreams, and you are seeing that on display. Like, look at this energy. I'm gonna shut up and let y'all watch them.
They rehearse, by the way, and train extensively before, after school hours, as well as weekends. I have to stop trying to give information, and I just want to be a spectator for a minute. I don't know how many steps we're going to take today, but they got to watch on.
Oh, we've been waiting for this one. Happy New Year from Universal Films.
Now, I want to highlight two things that were taking place there from Kyoto Tachibana. Their music, of course, was Sing, Sing, Sing from the swing tradition. But in addition to the marching they were doing, you could see that they were also essentially swing dancing. They were doing some Lindy Hop steps in addition to their marching for a high energy performance. So I look forward, or I hope that they've got that energy in another 5.5 miles, because it's certainly exciting for those of us getting to view them.
And there she is in straw flower carnations. And her hair, look at that. It's made of ribbon excelsior. I don't think we've had this in our parade before. The folks at Phoenix, well, they said that they actually used a curling iron to make it bouncy.
And it wouldn't be the end of 2024, beginning of 2025 if Wicked were not on display. But now the Pasadena City College Herald Trumpets, they serve to announce the Rose Queen and her royal court. They are an integral part of the Rose Parade mechanism. And they got, all the bands here today got an early start, but the Herald Trumpets in particular were at the Tournament of Roses house as the flag was raised at dawn. This is the 45th consecutive year for this unit's appearance. They're a 10-member honor band with 9 Herald Trumpets and 1 snare drummer.
I am endlessly impressed with all the ladies of the Rose Court.
But behind the Rose Court, and you can already hear them even perhaps before you see them, the Tournament of Roses Honor Band. They've been in every Rose Parade since 1930. So they've got 225 students. They are selected from members of the Pasadena City College Lancer Band, but also from applicants, from more than 500 high school applicants. And they are playing When the Saints Go Marching In.
We are. This is the Rose Parade. It's what we do.
It's contagious. It's contagious. It marks the official band of the Tournament of Roses. 96.
And they just gave the crowd a little show with some sidestepping there.
And various high school students. And they are from throughout the Southern California area. And get this, they have to go through a very tough audition process. Marching, singing, dancing.
So this band rehearses together over a period of less than 2 months. Again, I mentioned that they're a composite of Pasadena City College Lancer Band and high school bands throughout the Los Angeles area.
Well, everybody loves the
Of course, they are clad in the official tournament of Rose's insignia.
Clydesdales are a perennial favorite in our parade. They were originally bred during the 17th century for hauling and plowing and other heavy labor. The Clydesdale takes its name from the region of Scotland near the River Clyde. By the late 19th century, thousands of Clydesdales have been exported all around the world. And Mark, they each have their own team of groomers.
Really?
That's right, like their own glam squad. And apparently it could take up to 5 hours to get them ready for an event. I respect it.
Yeah. Winner of the Fantasy Trophy for most outstanding display of fantasy and imagination. We welcome the city of South Pasadena as they celebrate the whimsical seize the day on sail away as best buds turtle, frog, and duck pull together a boat made of found things and objects. Turtle provides the buoyancy while the frog pedals, the duck steers them on their way of sailing and fishing for the day, making memories of the best day ever. They're sailing on a sea of blue, always a challenge to create that naturally, but gathered here are iris, hydrangea, delphinium, status, and 1,000 bunches of blue ocean scent.
Let's do it later.
So now we are getting into the bands that will be performing in the Rose Bowl later today. The first we'll see is our host, the University of Oregon. This is their 9th trip to the Rose Bowl and the Rose Parade. So what's interesting is pairs Oregon and Ohio State, which feels like a traditional Big Ten, Pac-12 Rose Bowl. But Oregon is here as the Big Ten champion after realignment both decimated the Pac-12 and sent a number of their teams to the Big Ten. So while you still have that East-West pairing and what feels like a Big Ten Pac-12 matchup, that's not what it is at all. Oregon is the Big Ten champion. I got the opportunity to see them in the Big Ten championship game in Indianapolis back in early December. Let's go ahead and give the Oregon marching band a listen.
To be able to market yourself globally like this. There's a lot of eyeballs on the University of Oregon right now. The number one football team in the country, 13-0, and it makes people curious about what is this place that can generate such an extraordinary run. And it's a lot of eyeballs on Oregon. It allows us to tell our story of a great university. So what is the most enjoyable thing you or the team or just all the alumni? By the way, if you didn't know this, Southern California has the largest University of Oregon Alumni Association.
Now, this is the rubber match for Oregon. As I mentioned, this is trip number 9 to the Rose Bowl. They have won 4. They have lost 4. So we'll see how they fare today as the number 1 team in the country, facing a team that they've already beat once this year in the Ohio State University.
All right, I'm going to hold my card, hand my cards over here. We got to do the chant. I'm going to do this for the other school, too. Don't you worry, Buckeyes. But here we go for the Ducks. You ready? Go Ducks! Back to you guys.
That was classic.
Well, that's the band, I'm telling you everything.
Now, one thing that many folks know about Oregon is that they are the flagship of Nike. Phil Knight funnels a lot of money and resources into that program, and their marching band is no different. So, or Freihoff or Demoulin, the Ducks are in Nike.
It's a long day ahead for those young men and women down there. This band was established in 1908 as one of the University of Oregon's largest student-led organizations.
Like all the bands in the Rose Parade, they were up in the pre-dawn hours preparing for this. But unlike many of them, Oregon and Ohio State still have an entire football game ahead of them.
Today, as we say hello to the Rose Parade, honors its Rose Bowl heroes. Here riding in a vintage 1926 Fire engine are this year's inductees into the Rose Bowl Hall of Fame, class of 24. Absent today is two-time All-American, 2005 Heisman Trophy winner, USC running back Reggie Bush. But right there in the fire engine, we have Mark D'Antonio, the winningest coach in Michigan State history. And no doubt rooting for his Ducks is University of Oregon alumnus and College Football Hall of Famer LaMichael James. So congratulations.
Got the inductees into the Rose Bowl Hall of Fame riding there. And they mentioned that the one that is absent is USC alum Reggie Bush, who, of course, recently got his Heisman Trophy back.
That's what a lot of bowlers dream of. 12 consecutive strikes, a perfect 300 score. You know who's a big bowler, Mark? Ooh, Lady Gaga?
No.
Taylor Swift?
You're kidding.
I'm not kidding. He's the number one sport in America.
Is it really?
Yes. Look at the macaroon coconut pins. They're wobbling and flying under the impact of the
Now, the Go Bowling group is certainly making their presence felt in this nation's biggest parades this year, because they were also in the Macy's parade.
Very cute.
Rose Parade debut, and we're so glad they are. Northwest Spotted Drafts from Ferndale, Washington. Traveling 1,300 miles to get here. That is a ways to go. This is the first time this unit and its breed have been in the parade. They are for Marshall Craig Wilder. They're gentle giants. Now, the Wilder family has been raising and showing draft horses for 60 plus years, and every January 1st, the family says they would sit and watch the parade and dream to bring this majestic horse here for the world to see. And guess what? Today is their best day ever because they finally made it. The Spotted Draft, named for its pinto coat, is unique to North America. The striking black and white team pulling that 53-foot burgundy hitch wagon comprised of two mares.
What I thought might be the case there is Brutus Buckeye, the Ohio State cheerleaders on their float. So the unit of the other Rose Bowl participants, the Ohio State University Buckeyes, is applauding us now. And there is the Ohio State University Marching Band, Tip the Biddle, as they call themselves, the best damn band in the land.
Okay, I'm going to start over because that's not how we say it. President of the University.
Now, I am interested to see if we get to see them take that 105-degree turn, because they have incorporated what they call the Nickerson turn that repositions the band to send them down the rest of the parade route. And I'm hoping that this will get to see this.
Navy was leaving the U.S. Naval Academy.
Also, Top Gun.
Yeah, I get a little time.
Tom Cruise in our midst. All right, Ted. Ben, not a good word. Payback, maybe, in today's game for what happened earlier in the season.
Yeah, when you're playing at this level and collegiate athletics.
So the Ohio State University Marching Band is no stranger to the Rose Parade or the March Down Colorado Boulevard. This is their 17th appearance. They are the third, made the third most appearances behind only USC and Michigan. But what's a little bit different about their journey this year is that it was just a week and a half ago that they learned they would be headed to the Rose Parade. And that is new in the 12-team playoff era. They had to get past a home game versus Tennessee first.
That is 228 pieces of instruments performing for you. They are the pride of the Buckeyes.
Now, we did not get to see them take the turn on the KTLA feed. I'm not sure if you did on whichever feeds you might be watching, but if you have not, get on YouTube, look up Nickerson turn. It really is an exciting maneuver. It's something that is, if not unique, certainly uncommon, and is signature of the Ohio State University Marching Band.
And also in this card, a lot of star power there. Spanish language sportscasters father and son Jaime and Jorge Marin. Mayor Gordo is a favorite around here. He grew up in Pasadena, attended school here, went to school at night while working in
South suburbs of Chicago, Illinois. Let's give a listen to the Lincoln Way Marching Band.
So we are being joined from another band, this one from Chicagoland, the Lincoln Way Marching Band from Frankfort, Illinois, which is in Chicago's south suburbs.
The Lincoln Way Marching Band comprised of students from 3 Lincoln Way high schools. Now, back in the 50s, there was only one high school in their small rural district. Half a century later,
sounds as though they are playing the theme from Magnificent Seven. But Lincoln Way is another one of the composite bands. So they represent the Lincoln Way Community High School District 210. And they have brought together students from Lincoln Way Central, Lincoln Way East, and Lincoln Way West. But they have made it. This is Rose Parade number 4 for them. They were here back in 1982, in 2000, and in 2019.
Hi, Mark.
But as a Midwestern band, they ended their competitive season, as many do, in Lucas Oil Stadium. But of course, now they are making their way here out west. So we heard earlier from the Explore Mississippi float, and it seems that their neighbors on the other side of the river didn't want to be denied. Louisiana, of course, will be showcased in a different format in this college football postseason because they are home to the Sugar Bowl, which this year will match Notre Dame and Georgia in one of this bowl season's dual Sudler matchups. The band of the Fighting Irish and the Georgia Redcoat Band both have won the Sudler Trophy, and they will face off in New Orleans. We're told that the Sugar Bowl is still going on with enhanced security. As I shared earlier, and as I think a lot of folks have probably heard by now, there was a tragic vehicular homicide that took place in New Orleans, the French Quarter, amid the New Year's celebration earlier today that killed 10, and I believe injured around 3 dozen. It's that tragedy having taken place, and so they are taking the proper precautions as the Sugar Bowl prepares to kick off later tonight. It'll follow the Rose Bowl.
That was so enjoyable. How about that cover from Timothy Wayne, joined by Cajun Fiddler, Leighton LeBlanc. By the way, Leighton's still in college at LSU. How impressive is that for both of them? Wow. He's got some big steps to follow. His aunt and uncle are country music superstars, Faith Hill and Tim McGraw.
They just shared with us that the performer who was just showcased there is a current LSU student. So he's got a record deal, but you'll see on the Louisiana float, they've got some of the Louisiana insignia that you're used to seeing, not the least of which being the pelican that is perched on the gator's nose. Pelican, of course, features on the flag of Louisiana. It's known as the Pelican State, and their NBA team, the New Orleans Pelicans.
I know, and he did such a great job with it. And
Of course, there are plenty of alligators down on the bayou, so that also serves a central role in that particular float.
And non-floral materials. And that is some good news for Louisiana because we do know that it's been a hard day, some troubling series of events that occurred this morning, and we are just with you in solidarity and standing with all the resilience and pride that is Louisiana.
Just that moment of recognition and silence is so important. I think too, as we look further into this float, I mean, it's such a fair representative of what Louisiana truly is all about.
The adventurousness and the resilience, right?
And it reminds so much of like Mardi Gras and the spirit of what that culture is about. Wearing a crown of Mardi Gras beads and festive gators, carrying a Cajun dance hall right on its back. Timothy Wayne, as you see, is still up there. You saw his terrific performance. That Jolly Green Gator covered in lime slices, broccoli florets, Brussels sprouts, green bell peppers, and corn husks. So wait for this. Wait for it. There it is. You can see the little side. These are cactus petals. They put them for the feet.
It looks so authentic. That's amazing.
Right there on the leg. Coming down, those little green, those are cactus petals. I don't recall seeing those ever. We have hazard pay with the pepper and now with the prickly cactus.
Timothy Wayne and Lake LeBlanc did a great job on that. Yeah. And congratulations, Louisiana, on that award as we say hello to Rotary International. Here comes a fun one. This one's called On the Road with Rotary. It wins Tournament Volunteers Trophy. Most outstanding floral presentation of the Rose Parade. Floats 35 yard, but cool cat rides out front and tries to get everyone another selfie.
Oh, what he's doing.
These crazy critters have their heads out every which way, including the windshield. Amazing replica for the animal fur. Look at that detail. These furry fellows have bodies of buffalo grass, pampas grass, and then also there's a horse there with a flowing mane of rice, parsley flakes, and blue status. And the cow's spiky hair is red, orange, and yellow straw flower with blue and purple status as well. Very
just
playful.
Take a moment with that tone. I mean,
it's adorable.
As someone who grew up on a dairy farm or spent a lot of summers there, that is exactly. Thank you.
Congratulations, Rotary. And I think we've got Rotary Club members walking alongside this one. There they are waving. So good job, you guys. Very nice.
Well, that's happening. I think we're having another impromptu moment happening in the corner.
So turning the corner now, Tampa Bay's own Seminole High School, and I note them as Tampa Bay's home because this was a region that I did one time call home when I was in graduate school at USF. But they are based in the community of Seminole in Pinellas County, so they are across the bay from where I was in Tampa. This is their third Rose Parade. They were also here in 2005 and 2013. They've also done the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade. They were there in 2010, and they boast a number of 4A state championships in Florida.
The community was devastated by the hurricanes Helene and Milton. That was just this past year, 2024, remember. And the students, many of them were displaced. They lost everything. Today's performance a testament to the strength and courage and the endurance.
But Seminole did see some challenges in both hurricanes Helene and Milton this year. And they are hitting us with some Gangnam Style.
Without any interruption at our KTLA Facebook page or through our Hobbycam, KTLA.com/bandcamp.
You are watching.
And if you are familiar with the choreography from Psy's hit Gangnam Style, I just saw the Seminole band hit us with a little bit of that from the parade route. So they are doing an excellent job. And more importantly, they're having a lot of fun out there.
Spectrum broadcast booth, 3 stories above the parade booth.
How about we take you back, say 200 million years or so for this one? It wins the Judges Trophy, Most Outstanding Float Design and Dramatic Impact, celebrating their 7th consecutive Rose Parade appearance. This one's from the UPS store. They present Helping Dreams Take Flight. They showcase the UPS store's support for empowering youth, inspiring them to dream big. Mama Pterodactyl encourages her offspring on their exhilarating first flight. Waves flapping over 3 streaming volcanoes, 2 real waterfalls on this one. That's hundreds of gallons of water it takes.
So I mentioned early in the broadcast that this was not going to be something I spent a whole lot of time hitting y'all with, but as I mentioned, it was 26 years ago that I marched in the Rose Parade, the 1999 Rose Parade in my senior year of high school. As a member of the Alexis DuPont High School Tiger Marching Band. That was our 3rd trip to the Rose Parade at that point. My younger brother marched in 2004, and then our final trip was in 2008. It is believed that AI is the only high school band outside of the state of California to appear in the Rose Parade 5 times under the same director. Paul Peretz retired from his post as director of bands at Alexis DuPont High School in 2012, and he passed away this past year, early October. And immediately following that, more than 200 of I'll call them all my former bandmates, some of whom I marched with, some of whom marched at different times, but we all share homecoming performance. And I wear the shirt while I was not able to make it up to Delaware for that performance. It is something that, based on the reception, I think there's a good chance it will continue for future years. It was an excellent way to honor the longtime director. But once again, you can hear the next marching unit even as we see the Vietnamese float that won the Grand Marshal Award. And what you're hearing is Anchors Away. I mentioned that we've already seen the Air Force, the Marines, and the Army. And the United States Navy is coming down the parade route now. So you can hear their service hymn, Anchors Away. But they are under the direction of Captain Robert Seth Coates. The United States Navy turns 250 this year, like a number of our service branches do. But the Navy band specifically is based in the Navy Yard in Washington, D.C., and they're a century old. They were founded back in 1925.
Big welcome to the United States Navy Band. Let's listen. I love how President Morales put himself on an aircraft carrier.
Right?
And their drum major is rocking a fantastic bearskin cap. So many drum majors you'll see in more the Busby style, which is slimmer than the true bearskin, which is just massive. That's what Navy's drum majors got on. But in addition to their marching unit, their musical missions include concert, jazz, country, and chamber ensembles.
From the United States Navy Band.
Here's the winner of the Mayor Trophy for Outstanding Float from a participating city, celebrating the city of Alhambra's float.
So again, that is of the branches of the military that you have seen, three of whom were in marching band units, and then one was a flyover from the United States Air Force in this year's first appearance in the Rose Parade, which perhaps surprises me a little, but not too much. But we welcome them to the parade route. Of course, the West Coast Composite Band appears each year of the Marine Corps, and the Old Guard from the Army has been there before. But this was the United States Navy Band's first trip.
But their second year, this is coding cruise. They're calling it Coming Home to New Beginnings. This is really interesting. Coding for Veterans helps U.S. and Canadian veterans go from deployment to employment, and the float symbolizes the transition from different branches of the military to civilian careers in technology.
There's our flag.
They're on the USS Princeton, which, by the way, is on deployment on that carrier. The guided missile cruiser serving in the United States Navy. You see it here in our float parade, cruising on an ocean of white roses, carnations, iris, and dendrobes. Gosh, that is pretty.
It is, isn't it?
And if you were, there it is.
Oh, we've got live fire from the international award winner voting for vets coming home to new beginnings.
Everybody needs bleacher section. All right, here they come around the corner, making their debut and representing no less
But
than
coming to
England states.
the parade route now, we've got the New England Honors Band. Now you can see in their uniforms their tricorns. They this country's colonial period, so they feature musicians from high school and colleges throughout all six of the New England states.
The states that we're talking about here in this particular group were represented from Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. The students had to be nominated by the band director. Then selections were made based on their musical ability, and this is what I love, their involvement in their schools, but also in their community. This is about giving
Nice.
back.
They have on display the 13-star flag commonly associated with Betsy Ross. They've got
Impressive.
a number of they're in lieu, well, not in lieu of, because they were still marching with a banner, but they're also marching with that colonial era flag. The New England Honors Marching Band is under the direction of John Waters. Now, what's interesting, John Waters is in a marching band, so he shares the parade route with his old unit here, as of course Ohio State made their way into the Rose Bowl and participated in this year's Rose Parade. But in addition to Ohio State, he has also worked at Heidelberg University and continues to direct.
The pedal pushers, they're decorators, did a great job on
They
that.
did. They
They
certainly
always
did.
do.
So happy to
But coming around the corner now is the Pebble Hills High School Spartan Marching Band. We'll give them a listen for a moment here. They've chosen as their musical selection Best Day of Our Life, which is fitting given that this year's Rose Parade theme is Best Day Ever. But Pebble Hills High School is joining us from the Sun City of El Paso, which is home to the second oldest bowl game, the Sun Bowl, which is behind.
Not only is it brand new to the Rose Parade, but Pebble Hills High is also the newest high school in El Paso. This was founded 7 years ago. And in that short time, the Spark Marching Band has been a consistent
But this band just came into being in the fall of 2015. And they're already here making their first appearance before us in the Rose Parade. So that alone is impressive. But their motto is excellence in an art. That does not describe what it takes to be an excellent marching band on this Rose Parade route. I don't know what does.
parents were married in 1980.
Such a sweet story. That's beautiful. Happy New Year. I'm Lisa Gibbons along with my buddy Mark Steinis. We are so excited to always bring you the Rose Parade.
They are under the direction of Maximo Sierra. El Paso, of course, sits at the crossroads of America, directly across the border from the city of Juarez in Mexico. So they are a border community.
Each year to be a part of the parade, and 24 are selected to march this year, these 24, along with the two Rose Bowl versus team bands. But it is something so many bands really, really have a strong desire to do, and I see why.
They are looking and sounding great.
This wins a trophy as well. Congratulations to the Elks for winning the Americana Trophy for Most Outstanding Depiction of National Treasures and Traditions. This is a beauty. Back for their 18th Rose Parade. It's Elks USA with a spectacular celebration of the great outdoors. They're calling it Cherished Memories. It's biking.
And the great thing about Pebble Hills is, as I mentioned, it's always great when you can hear the band coming a couple of units ahead of them. You're actually still hearing Pebble Hills as we move on to the next float. So props to them for their sound output there.
20-foot suspension bridge was wrapped in hand. We saw them doing it. It takes forever. It's Manila rope, and the waterfalls are in the back there. And watching over the forest is a mighty elk. And if you're close enough, you can smell it because it smells like coffee. The head is made of coffee, pampas grass, and then more coffee, ground oats, and buffalo grass for the body. And it's well deserved. That's beautiful. Congrats.
So many people line up to volunteer to help decorate these floats year in and year out. On now to someone who's had their 10th Rose Parade in Sacramento, California.
The Painted Ladies Rodeo performers, they have been a mainstay in the Rose Parade. I believe this is their 10th performance here.
Have been number one equestrian entry at the Folsom Pro Rodeo for, gosh, I think 2 decades now.
They're one of our equestrian entries.
Crowds to their feet. But it's not only about riding and roping for these ladies. They also created a nonprofit, Painted Ladies Foundation, for grieving children and young adults who have lost a parent. And through the clinics and riding lessons that they offer, the Painted Ladies and their horses help to heal in so many ways.
Hello, Core Kidney Foundation. With It's in Your Hands, it takes two. This is a really pretty much, isn't it? Hummingbird fluttering there over a blooming lotus, cup-camp roses. And look at the good time they're having on that float. They are advocating.
As they're having a great time on the It Takes Two float, you can hear the next band coming around the corner right behind them. That is the All-Star Marching Band Mexico, which we will be hearing from in just a moment, but they are based in Puebla, Mexico, under the direction of Luis Alberto Mendoza Gomez.
Representing the best of our south of the border neighbors here for the very first time.
But this band is recruited from all over Mexico. They provide a post-secondary music option for high school graduates.
When band director Luis Alberto Mendoza Gomez was saying, "What's the future of marching bands? What's going to happen?"
And as you look at their uniforms. They are very much incorporating a floral motif in the style of the Rose Parade. Earlier in the parade, we saw the Banda de Musica Alberto Lopez out of Panama. And it was actually it was cool on social media to see them have a nice little game recognized game moment among Latin American bands.
It's a way for students to stay engaged in music after high school. All right, I got to take a deep breath on this one because it's a big showmanship.
And I've always got a warm spot for bands, as the All Star Band Mexico does, that march glockenspiels. They did indeed have bells in their drum line. So shouts to them for that.
Driven by a roster engineer. There's a lot going on, so let's get to it, huh? There's a cow catcher at the front of it, so it's Tea Party. Please. You got pistons and a person, Howard Mixmaster whipping cream with white and light.
But following them in fairly short order, we've got the Elsinore Girls Marching Band. Elsinore Pigagarda. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, so I'm just going to stick to what they are for us as the English translation. The Elsinore Girls Marching Band out of Hornbeck, Denmark. And my apologies if I did not do the best with that name.
Cookie wheels with ring macaroons and cupcakes frosted with yellow mums and blue stars.
The Elsinore Girls Marching Band is coming to us from Denmark. They blend traditional military music with modern melodies.
This is a
traditional Danish marches and popular music. Let's welcome the Elsinore Girls Marching Band. Lots of sisterhood, lots of cultural identity here. The youngest member marching
And
today.
they are giving us anchors away, and they are marching in the shape of an anchor. So a shout out to the home country here, the U.S., the
shout out to my friend Chris.
service hymn of the United States Navy. But the Elsinore Girls Marching Band is on their third director since they began in 1957. And she is the daughter of the previous director, so she is preserving their legacy. Now, back home in Hornbeck, it is the early evening. It's about 6:30 p.m. But the sun set before 4 local time, closing out just over 7 hours of daylight because they're 56 degrees north latitude. But the L central to the Danish cultural identity.
Is a purebred Arabian mare. They're just beautiful horses. All right, this is the Leishman Public Spirit Trophy winner. Most outstanding.
And behind the Cal Poly University's float, marching band.
This float is loaded with animation.
University of Wyoming, of course, is the state flagship. They are based in Laramie, Wyoming, and under the direction of Joe Carver.
There's a Highland cow spinning in an inner tube. How cute. Puffins slide up and down, messy, slippery fin. And a couple of beavers there too, joining in on the fun. The Scottish Long Float. 150 students work on this. On their 2 campuses, Pomona and San Luis Obispo. It's quite remarkable how every year they come up with something.
But this is Western Thunder's first trip to the Rose Parade. You see them clad in their school colors of brown and gold. And they join their conference mates Fresno State as FBS programs that are in this parade, though they're not in the game. And I have always thought that the University of Wyoming's cowboy insignia that has really come to be associated with the state as a whole. Partners with Core International, they're also from Wyoming, and they host a marching band invitational in October. So a little bit of uh, collaboration there between marching units in the state of Wyoming. Now, I'm chuckling to myself because the thing I realized that I have not done, which I suppose makes me a bad YouTuber, is tell you to subscribe. If you are interested in marching bands, you can subscribe to this channel right here, 80 Minutes. And this is the YouTube arm of 80 Minutes of Regulation.com. That's 80 Minutes of Regulation.com, where since 2008, we've been talking about sports and marching and athletic music. Among the traditions that we're in the midst of right now is the bowl band previews. And so those just posted for all of the quarterfinal games. So, of course, last night we saw Penn State defeat Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl. Immediately following this parade will be the Peach Bowl, and then we'll have the Rose Bowl and Sugar Bowl following that. So, as the playoff has expanded, there are many more. So, we will see that come into being prior to the championship game, which will take place on January 20th in Atlanta.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off, well done. Enjoy Illinois. Artist and Illinois native Brian Culbertson, joined by Ferris Bueller lookalike and dancer Tyler Langston.
As the Enjoy Illinois float comes by, it's clear that they are leaning heavily into Chicago imagery, which was one of the points of discussion as the state of Illinois considers a new flag as to how, if at all, they would represent the city of Chicago. Uh, it is, of course, but one city in the state, but it is the largest. It also happens to have a one of the better flags in the country, and so figuring out how to incorporate that into their imagery take into consideration as they crafted what will ultimately be the flag to represent that state.
Today, there's 21 prancing like that. And boy, do they just enjoy this year.
And when I see the particular style of dressage that those horses were doing, I'm reminded of Snoop Dogg commentary, I believe, before he became an Olympic mainstay in 2024. Had some commentary in one of the previous years, I believe it was in 2021 following the pandemic, but he referenced the horse crip walking because horses were definitely crip walking.
Look around, you might miss it. This is a full tribute to that movie and filmmaker John Hughes in the comedy classic Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Well, they're moving pretty fast down that.
They are moving fast. They recreated a lot of scenes from around.
Because they're probably catching up because we had a little gap with that Sonic Boom and a few others doing a little improv, but that's okay. That's
you know,
what we're here today.
remember in the movie when they did that Twist of Shout scene, they had extras like guys just they weren't really even paid as extras. They were just working and they put them in the film. I feel like that's what these guys are doing right now. Hey, everybody.
Look at this. And again, Chamber of Commerce Day is beautiful. This is every little boy's dream of a float, isn't it?
Oh, the float coming around the corner. Downey Rose Float Association, the Our Garden Railroad. It looks like they've got a working train that passes through a tunnel on this float. That's just cool.
An old water tower made of ground walnut and pepper, and even through a tunnel in a snow-capped mountain with white buttonballs and orchids. That's there. I feel like I'm selling real estate right now. So here, colorful Victorian buildings nestled in a garden, and an old mill over floral water, iris hydrangea, and splashes of white roses and white phalaenopsis orchids. Look at that. I mean, 9-10-year-old, I would be.
This is the greatest. It's the greatest. Founder trophy. We love it.
Yeah. Did you know? But this is a little side note. Metallica frontman James Hetfield.
We're hearing the next band to come to the parade route now. That is the Homestead High School Mighty Mustang Marching Band and Color Guard. They're from Cupertino, California, and if that name sounds familiar, you probably associate it with Apple products, which is perhaps fitting because Homestead High School is the alma mater of Apple founder Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak.
Doing kind of a mashup of Best Day Ever by SpongeBob SquarePants and Beautiful Day by U2, which I think is so creative. They're calling it the best beautiful day ever. Good for you.
So, owing to the giving us a mashup of U2 and SpongeBob, Beautiful Day and Best Day Ever. So nice little piece they put together. I'm sure they probably constructed it for this parade specifically. But Homestead made the trip about 5.5 hours down I-5 from Cupertino, NorCal to SoCal.
And Steve Wozniak.
Were they in the band?
They were not in the band.
They were not in the band. Every time I see Cupertino, that's what I think of. You know, I think of, yeah. Like,
but Homestead also appeared in the Rose Parade in 2018.
I would see it like it's a very lovely community.
And they actually have their band situated such that they've got silks at the front and then also in the middle of the band. Which is a great way to stage the band. It's not one I see often, but I think it works out well for them.
And I saw this, I'm like, I can't wait to see what this turns out. This is Western SS and a glorious celebration of elegance of nature. This is floats like a butterfly. And you can see why. It's a serene scene as a canopy of butterflies symbolizing beauty and change flutter over a creek nestled among vibrant flowers in a kaleidoscope of colors. 20 of those 40 butterflies are
We're currently watching what calls itself Float Like a Butterfly, which is a great play on words because it is a float and it is covered in butterflies with actual working flapping wings. But approaching, we can hear the 605 All-Star Band. This is another composite band. These units are these music freeway corridor in Los Angeles County. So their director, Tom Phillips of Mayfair High School, he'll be retiring this year in 2025, and he came up with this band that brings together the schools of the Norwalk, La Mirada, and ABC Unified School Districts.
We get so excited about this band. It's a big band. 500
So they've got 500 members. They're marching, looks like 8 drum majors. But these students hail from Artesia, Bellflower, Cerrito, Cigar, John Glenn, La Mirada, Mayfair, and Norwalk High Schools. Again, along the 605 corridor in Los Angeles County.
So they can give a lot of students a chance to perform. So they've got 8 high schools representing 7 cities and 3 school districts all along our 605 freeway here. And I love the uniforms because you see the freeway influence.
Everything, yes. It's the green sign.
And they are playing Life is a Highway, which is fitting for a band that draws is brought together by a freeway. And in fact, they've also got some markings on their uniforms that symbolize the road. But these bands came to rehearsing separately ever since. They've just reunited now for the Rose Parade. And again, they are 500 strong coming down Colorado Boulevard.
Because there's so many of them. Maybe there's a carpool. We'll have to add an express lane on the route just in honor of them.
One thing that we have heard from a lot of these composite bands is the opportunity that they give for students who might march in smaller bands that on their own would not be able to earn an invitation to the Rose Parade, but by coming together, they can create a unit that can give that opportunity to so many students. So it's really cool to hear that these bands are doing that, and giving students, and kind of a corollary to that is just the cool fact that you get to form a community outside of just your own band. Again, students in this 605 All-Star Band, for example, they've now met and gotten to know students from each of them, gotten to know students from 7 other build that community and build it around music, no less. I think is a really cool opportunity. And, it's no small feature to also be part of one of the biggest parades in the world.
Tropical angel and tigerfish swim over a coral bed of peach lentil, bubbling with coconut and ripples of white butterflies. Just look at that canopy of trees. Springerai aspidistra, leaf, yellow yarrow, dendrosa, solidago.
Say hello to the Blue Shadows mounted drill team here from Lakeview Terrace. The motto, leadership through guidance. The Blue Shadows is a youth equestrian drill team dedicated to providing young people from 8 to 18 with a chance to learn horsemanship and equestrian drills. The Blue Shadows are structured around the U.S. cavalry in form and substance, complete with their military discipline and courtesy. Each member fighter's helmet. So they've earned it. This is a beautiful moment for them. Thank you, Blue Shadows.
Blasting off with a message of hope for the new year. Here's our fellows and Rebecca's entry, Chasing Our Dreams. This is an out-of-world entry. It represents the idea that we can go anywhere to spread concepts of love, friendship, and truth throughout the world and the universe. That astronaut you see there is an ambassador waving to all his soars across a faraway galaxy.
And as we near the 2-hour mark on this parade, we've got just a up at 1 o'clock. That just means that that is when the last of these units pass these cameras. They've still got another 5.5 miles to go from there.
You can test me on that. These guys have not missed a Rose Parade since 1920. Welcome back, the Salvation Army.
But coming around the corner now, in their 100 Army Tournament of Roses band, which always evokes for me from Guys and Dolls, Follow the Fold, and Stray No More. But this band comprises musicians from across the country who first come together the week of the parade.
Joined this year by the Glenmore Temple Band from Calgary, Canada. They say they put this whole thing.
But this year, they're being joined with a set over from the UK. So they're sort of a band within a band that's marching with us today.
In fact, today in the band, there are three generations marching side by side. You've got granddad, son, and grandson.
In the stories they will remember and carry with them in memories.
One of the pieces of instrumentation that is a little atypical that the Salvation Army band has always incorporated is their timbrelists, I believe they call them, that are playing the tambourines. So that is main units. Again, not unlike cymbals, they serve as both a musical and visual unit.
19th century Shanks Road coach dub that comment. Joining this year, of course, is your favorite, Elvis Presley, in addition to starring on RuPaul. Race at the age of 15. It's so nice to see him year in and year out.
And you can still hear the Salvation Army even as they have left our screen. As another equestrian unit takes to the route.
Boy, are we sharing the most beautiful picture, perfect New Year's Day with you.
A massive herald trumpet with that float and unit.
This is the Isabella Coleman Trophy winner for most outstanding presentation of color and color harmony through floral design. It's called A Beautiful Day for Hope. This really is gloriously stunning. This celebrates patients who did not let cancer take away their hope. You've got two beautiful peacocks here with floral tail feathers. They come from the Spirit of Life Fountain and Sculpture fame, which you'll see on the City of Hope Center in Forte, California, which is so famous. And if you look closely, you'll see words of inspiration in the feathers. They've written things like hope and compassion and integrity, purpose. Isn't it pretty? Really, really beautiful float made of micro palms and mums in a variety of colors, including light blue sapphire mums. Now, that is a color you don't see very often. In fact, it was grown especially for this entry.
All right, let's drop in on Chris on the corner. Chris, buddy, you there? Chris, are you there?
Chris on the corner.
Yeah.
Hi, guys. Sorry about that. Enjoying it all right here. Coming up, it's time for Where Flowers and Football Meet. This right here, presented by Shriners Children.
I did. Okay.
It's always great when we see the crowd cutaways. Of course, there are two bands that will participate in the game itself, but you really see a tapestry of fan bases because the Rose Parade is a national worldwide event, and so I just saw somebody throwing up a K-State Wildcat paw as they were panning folks representing USC, which of course is local there in Los Angeles. So you're going to see all sorts of different fan bases who are present here, regardless of the bands that are in the parade or the teams that are participating in the game.
Grace will throw the ceremonial first pass from the Rose Parade to the Rose Bowl game.
Right now, we're watching the ceremonial first pass from the Rose Parade. It was the Shriners float. And of course, they've got this big animation where the pass floats down, lands, and is caught in the Rose Bowl Stadium by Hunter Woodhall and Tara Davis Woodhall, who you may remember from the Olympics this past year, both of whom are Olympians.
Speaking of wins, let's get ready to enjoy the Rose Bowl game as Oregon takes on Ohio State and the granddaddy of the ball. Come on, guys, let's cheer them on. Let's go!
And now, celebrating more than 30 years of memorable family entertainment, including theater, film, and animation, music and theme parks and resorts, we welcome Mansion Entertainment Group from Branson, Missouri, with a special multi-generational performance featuring Betty Who, Debbie Gibson, and the Debbie Allen Dance Academy.
So they're calling this the grand finale, and it is 12:52 right now. But by my notes, I think we've still got two marching bands we've not yet seen. So I am hoping, and I've very clearly had the parade on the entire time. We still got the Citizens of Don Bosco, Southern California high school band, and the Rancho Verde Crimson Regiment. So I am hoping that, again, I've seen the entire parade, and I know that they are some of the later units here in the parade, but I am hoping that they do not get ignored by the television broadcast. You could see as this performance takes place that there is indeed a unit, presumably the Salesians of Don Bosco, that is lined up behind the performance. So again, hopefully they're still going to get their time here on television. We know what a big deal it is to be able to march in the Rose Parade, and I'm hoping that they don't lose out on, they'll still get the million, an audience of 1 million that is lined up there along Colorado Boulevard, but I don't want for them to miss all the family and friends at home and across the nation who would get to see them as they're on television. So hopefully they don't lose out on that.
The pressures everywhere. Oh yeah, it's blowing right through. The fever's in the air. Energy coming up, counting down strong.
Well, as we watch the performance, that again I hope is not the finale, remind you that you can find 80 minutes at 80minutesofregulation.com. I'm on YouTube right here where you're watching. 80 minutes is spelled out. You'll find me by that same name on Instagram and Threads. On Facebook, it is 80MINS. There is still, though less active, still a presence on Twitter /X as well, 80MINS. But you can find me in all of those places. If you're on Blue Sky, it's just me, myself, CWT302. So you can find me there as well. But I would appreciate the follow in any of those places if you feel so compelled.
What a performance. Debbie Gibson still bringing it since bursting onto the scene at the age of 16. And Betty Who, what a sensation. And how about those Debbie Allen dancers? Of course, led by the legendary Debbie Allen.
All right, so it is 12:57 right now. Again, I am hoping that the Salesians of Don Bosco and the Rancho Verde Crimson Regiment will still get their due on the television broadcast.
Betty Who made her Broadway debut back in 2023 in the Tony Award-winning musical Hadestown. From Sydney, Australia, Betty Who is a classically trained singer. And what hasn't Debbie Allen done? She is simply a legend in and of herself. Mark and Lisa, I'm going to throw it back to you. Chris on the corner, how about those fireworks? How about those proteins?
Wow.
That
Thank
was
you,
so
Chris.
much fun.
I know. We got an 80s theme going here.
3 generations of women that are bringing it. That was fantastic. And take a look at this. This wins the Queen Trophy. This is a tropical paradise teeming with life.
So we're still going, and we've got the Queen's Trophy winning float here. So maybe the broadcast will push on a little bit past 1 o'clock again. I sincerely hope so for those bands that we've not yet seen. And again, maybe if they don't make the KTLA feed, hopefully they have gotten to be seen elsewhere, because there really are folks waiting at home hoping to see their loved ones make this march.
Shells and fish, courtesy of a working waterfall. A lot of that going on our floats today.
Yes.
Decorative pots, and look at that beachy surface. They got that color there, sponge mushrooms and Spanish moss. And then watching over the scene, a pair of parrots, rather, red and green black tea leaves, and that beautiful macaw perched on a branch of real tree bark, a couple of monarch butterflies. Symphidium blooms. That one is really pretty, worthy of the Queen Trophy. Way to go, Shriners.
At the very front, you see that clamshell opening up. And when it does, we saw this during our float tour, when the clamshell opens up, there's a little pearl, and they have little bubbles. That no detail is left unturned here. It is just such an imagination at play and at work.
Beautiful message, beautiful floats, and look at these beautiful and athletic horses. 2 exotic European.
All right, the International Andalusian and Lusitano Horse Association from Birmingham, Alabama. And we're almost certainly going to push past 1 p.m. on the KTLA. These last couple of bands get their due.
So we saw this just moments ago, but coming back for their third and often a grand finale performance, Mansion Entertainment Group, with heart and soul of family entertainment, creating a lifetime of memories.
Yeah, there they are. They did such a great job. Brought it with that performance. Pop icon Debbie Gibson, Australian sensation Betty Who.
And we can see the next unit coming into view. Starting to hear them as well behind Debbie Gibson's float. But it is my assumption and expectation. Here we go. Yes, the Salesians of Don Bosco, Southern California High School Band. So
Welcome, Salesians of Don Bosco, Southern California High School Band. Let's take a listen.
now this is another composite band. They're featuring musicians from the Salesian schools in Southern California. So it's Salesian High School, Boyle Heights neighborhood of LA, Don Bosco Technical Institute in Rosemead, and St. John Bosco in Bellflower. So they're actually in some of the same communities you heard from that 605 composite band. What's actually cool about this, is that they are all in the uniforms of their home band. So you've got a nice little composite of the bands that make this band up. But they were under the direction of Sam Hankins, Ramon Villanueva, and Richard Mata, presumably the directors of those three bands. So again, they came together in a way that gives opportunity to bands that share a goal and mission as the Salesian schools in this particular part of Los Angeles. But they also they give that opportunity to students who otherwise might not get to March in the Rose Parade.
They're dancing the night away, the year 1925.
So we should have one more band prepared to join us, and they should be a unit away. And in fact, I see them coming into view now. The Rancho Verde Crimson Regiment. They are from Moreno Valley, California. And they've got a quick step march going on. They're probably at a good 125, 130 with their march. But this is their second Rose Parade. They were last here in 2020. You'll recall there was a 2020 Rose Parade. As January 2020, we hadn't yet seen the challenges brought to us by the pandemic. But they made the trip west from Riverside County. And they're located near March Air Force Reserve Base. And so there's a large presence of military families that are in this band.
The trophies, by the way, fill the band room. That the lessons taught in the process last a lifetime.
I think that's really where we've been going all day today. Talking about the sense of community, this togetherness. This kind of
and they're actually not just marching glockenspiels. They've got some pretty sizable mallet percussion. It looks as though they had marching xylophone as well as a glockenspiel, possibly vibraphone. And so it is they are performing a field show that this is a band that marched the pit, and they wanted to ensure that those musicians could still participate. So they have true marching mallet percussion, which you don't necessarily see in a lot of bands, even if they do march a pit on the field. So their front ensemble players still got to participate in a similar fashion.
All of the sheriff's personnel are dressed in traditional Western wear.
But that being said, but behind the unit, you can see the police, who I'm sure are bringing up the rear of this parade. So the view from this particular vantage point, again, they've still got 5.5 miles to go, but this view is coming to a close, and so will I. Again, I am Curtis Tarver. 80minutesregulation.com. That is 80minutes.com. You can find me on the YouTube channel. Feel free to subscribe at 80 Minutes spelled out. Also 80 Minutes spelled out on Instagram. 80MINS on Facebook, on What Remains of Twitter, and you can find me on Blue Sky at CWT302. Hope you all have a fabulous new year and a wonderful 2025. Take care.
Stopping the show